game? Do you ever feel the same? Well, maybe we could change, turn the ship another way.
Hello and welcome to the Liz Experiment. I'm Liz, the Liz that we are experimenting on. And this is the channel where I record field notes from my journey towards trying to architect my best life. I am recording today from Oakland, California, where I've been for the past few weeks, but you'll notice if you're a regular viewer, I have a different background this week. I just arrived at a new house where I'll be for a week more, and I was originally house sitting for my friends and their beautiful, wonderful dog Faye, and now I am house sitting for friends of friends. We're all friends, really, and their awesome, beautiful dog Kylie, who is like Faye's best friend. So she's Faye's best friend, so we know each other, but I haven't house sat for her before. So that's what's happening here in Oakland. It has also been quite a week. You'll notice that it's a little bit dark. I'm in the midst of the blackout that is it was, intentional to try to prevent any sort of wildfires with the high winds that have come to the area. So I apologize for the video quality in this regard, or the lighting quality, because the video quality is the same, but it's more like the lighting. And we'll talk a little bit more about the blackout in a second, but I should also note that I don't know when I'm going to have a chance to upload this video, because obviously there's no Wi-Fi, because, no internet, yada, yada. Which is all for the best in the greater good scheme. So what did I learn this week, and what did I work on this week? So the first thing that I learned this week was that I really worked on, I shouldn't say that because they're two different sections of the video. I learned that time boxing my week, meaning having work days, like focused work days, and then days where I do a little bit of work, but I also meet with people, or I do more forward-facing stuff. I was pretty strict about it this week so far, Monday through Wednesday, and it really, really helps. And it helps me to stay focused on the days when I need to, as well as it helps me to be present with people when I have those meetings, because I'm not thinking about all the work I have to do. So I think it's a practice I'm going to continue for at least for another couple weeks to see if the benefits continue. But that was definitely so far has been a huge lift. For instance, today I don't have Wi-Fi, so I can't really be a digital worker, but that's okay. It would be okay either way, but it's a little bit less of a stressor because I planned for this to be more of a meeting day. So I didn't really have any focused work that I need to get done so far. So those types of things are kind of interesting to watch. The second thing I learned this week was to sort of remember to listen to my gut and take a chance. And what I mean is I go to Mexico next week. It's my first time traveling alone in Mexico. I'm going to a region of Mexico that's not necessarily known for being safe. I know there's a lot of crime in a lot of Mexico. And on some of the collectives that I'm a part of, or one of the collectives I'm a part of, there have been all of these posts about monstrous Airbnb experiences. And I'm going to stay at an Airbnb in this city in Mexico that I've never been to. And I started to kind of feel that internal paranoia, like, did I make the right decision? What if this is a monstrous, atrocious Airbnb situation? All of those voices kind of started. Those voices, which in my body feel very tense and like abrupt and like suffocating, I'm trying very hard not to listen to those. And so when I thought about the Airbnb that I already booked, and I thought about I realized how it felt in my body, I noticed, none of those feelings come up. So I'm going to take a chance because I'm checking in with my gut, and it's all going to be fine. I've been contacting the host, and he's been giving me a ton of information about the area. I did research on him, and he's a real person, so the internet says, that kind of thing. And if it all goes to hell, that's okay. I'm taking a chance with all of the best information I have. The third thing that I learned this week was, well, I guess it's kind of related to the first, so I maybe shouldn't have written it down as a third thing, but it was the whole being present with people because all of my work is being done on the focused work days. So maybe it's like 1.5 or something. So the real third thing I learned this week was, well, I didn't learn, but I was confronted with, and in more ways than one, and the blackout being one of them, was again with my privilege, being a white female and house sitting in affluent neighborhoods. And so that was those types of, that recognition was brought on again by the blackout. You know, we, in the Oakland Hills, at least where I am, I can't speak for everybody, it's a pain not to have the power, but it's not the end of the world. It's not as if I am going to miss work and miss a day's pay, thankfully. It's not, you know, there's not so many things hanging by a wire for me. I don't have children to take care of. I don't have all of these different obligations to consider. So I don't have anybody's health who may be on electrical devices or something to consider. So I think I've been thinking about that a lot during the blackout. And we'll talk about that in the what I worked on section. But I've also been confronted with it and taken a look at it through the conversations I have with the population here, which is also, at least my group that is surrounding me, is also tends to be white people who are from, or at least have worked to a point of affluence, right? We're in this really nice neighborhood. So in those conversations, I felt the discomfort of some of the topics we've talked about. And I've kind of said, ooh, man, we're really privileged to have this conversation. But I haven't necessarily spoken up on that. And so that's something, again, I would want to start to work. I will start working on. But I definitely learned the depth of that discomfort this week. So, okay, I'm going to stop rambling on the learning stuff. And now I'm going to talk about what I worked on. So the first thing I worked on was, again, the time boxing and really holding my ground. And for those of you who also have trouble with their boundaries and just setting those in general, this was a good practice, like time boxing, setting out, okay, Monday 10 through or 9 through noon or whatever is going to be focused work. I won't do anything else during that time. And Tuesday 1 through 5 is when I can set meetings. And at first you're kind of like, wow, telling people no, I can't meet Monday from 10 to 1 seems in your head hard, but they don't need to know why, first of all. And second of all, they don't care. They just want to know when they can meet with you. So that practice on a small scale of working with my work schedule, I can see it bleeding into my life where it's like instituting and upholding my own personal boundaries. So that was very cool. The second thing I worked on, as I mentioned, with the Airbnb host. So I trusted my gut, but before I trusted my gut, I educated my gut. I researched him and his wife. I read all the articles that were being passed around in the collective about how to avoid the horror rentals and all of those sorts of information gathering. And so now I feel very informed that even if I show up in Mexico, which I doubt this will happen, and it's a horrible experience of some kind, it will have to be a learning experience because I've done all of the research I can do in order to make it in order to ensure that I'm safe, you know? So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys posted, of course, next week. The third thing I worked on was the being present in those in-person meetings or online meetings, and I was able to do that with a lot less guilt because of the time boxing stuff. I had lunch with the homeowner of this property the other day. It was Tuesday, and it was like I usually would have been like, I should be working, I should be getting this, that, and the other thing done. But because I had allotted time for this, that, and the other thing, and I had allotted time for this lunch, I was able to just sit and have lunch. And that was very cool because it allowed me to be more connective and more present with her in the moment. And so the last thing that I worked on, well, like kind of like the second to last thing, was noting and highlighting, I should say considering my race and station in the types of conversations that I'm having, especially when I start to feel that discomfort of my privilege. And it really comes down to owning it, not taking advantage of it necessarily, and not forcing it on others, but being aware of it. How I've started to work on that is, you saw it in this video. I've started to say, as a white female who's staying in an affluent neighborhood, or just kind of putting that forward for both myself, so that I can have that top of mind when I'm talking about different topics where privilege is highlighted and important, which is many topics. And the other part of that work is not shying away from bringing up privilege and race that goes along with white privilege. Not, especially with other white people. We don't talk about it, and we need to, because otherwise it just lays under the rug, and we don't change it. We can't change it, or by not acknowledging it, we try to bury it, and we need to bring it out into the light. So I've been working on that much, much more. And then the final half of that, especially in relation to the blackout, is acceptance again, guys. I mean, it just is. I'm lucky enough and I'm privileged in a way that this doesn't affect me to a large degree. And all I can do is try to, accept it and live my best life, and be grateful, because in the end, I've been blessed in that way. I've been blessed in the way of all the other ways I talked about. It's not, I'm going to be okay. And that is a blessing, and I'm entirely grateful for it. So next week, I do not know when and where I'm going to record the video. It might be here in Oakland. I might wait until I'm in Jalapa, Mexico. So you're just going to have to tune in to find out. If you liked the video, please let me know. Give it a thumbs up. If you have comments on anything I've talked about, the blackout, privilege, acceptance, time blocking your schedule. Yes, all of these heavy and light topics can be discussed on one video. Please leave a comment in the description area below. And of course, if you want to get these videos every week, subscribe. I would love to have more subscribers, so I know that I'm not just mumbling to myself. Although, if I am just mumbling to myself, I'm going to keep mumbling. And that's it for this week. Thank you so very much for watching. See you next week.